Hi, I'm Jessica, and this November I am going to do something that both excites me and terrifies me. I am going to write a novel. That's it. I am going to write 50,000 words in 30 days. No idea if I'm good at this. I don't have a plan. I don't have an agent. I just have this idea that has been living in my mind for months, if not years, and a cast of imaginary characters that are going to put me through the emotional ringer. But that's the plan. I'm going to start writing a book. If you're a romance reader or a writer or someone who thought that, hey, I should write that idea that I have had in my mind for so long, welcome, you're in the right place. We both know nothing about what we are going to do, but we are going to do it anyways, right? Because when you do the thing, you become the thing. So I have wanted to be an author, a writer for God, I don't even know how long. It's been years. It's been embarrassingly long. And I kept putting excuses. I kept giving myself excuses. Like first it was college, and then I said like I will start when I graduate, and then that was work. And yeah, I will start when I have more free time. And then there was something always happening, right? Always something that was happening with me or around me that stopped me. But one day I realized it was all excuses. And it was during, I think it was an interview. I don't remember the author, but it was an interview that I was watching on TikTok, because of course it was TikTok. And then this woman said that she wrote her first book when she was, I want to say 35. And she didn't know anything about it either. So she just wrote a book. And she said, you don't need permission from anyone. You just need a draft. And that's when it clicked. Writers don't wait for anybody to give them permission. They don't wait for anybody to tell them that they are ready. They don't get like this angel that taps their shoulder and says, hey, go write your book. You're ready to do it now. They just do it. So why not me? And I took a hit. Like, it was harsh because I realized I wasn't becoming the person that I wanted to be because I didn't really want to become that person, if that makes sense. If I wanted to be an author, then I needed to start taking it seriously. So I did. I started reading craft books. I started listening to podcasts, watching author interviews, learning about successful indie authors that made this their living. And I realized that they just started doing the thing. They wrote messy first drafts. They were bad at first, and they learned as they went. So that's the plan. And I think that that's super important because it changes your mindset about it, right? If you start treating it as a career, even before it pays you, then it changes how you show up for both your writing and for yourself. You start creating structure, routines. You look for inspiration. You start learning, setting goals, tracking your goals. You invest in learning. You invest in preparing yourself for what you want to do. So even on the days that you don't feel like it, you have a goal because it's your job. And if you had a regular job, they would fire you if you didn't show up, right? So you have to show up. And I thought about doing NaNoWriMo for so many years. And then I looked it up this year and I found out that, what? There's no more NaNoWriMo? What the hell? So I had to look for options. And that's when I found Novel November. Novel November, for those of you who don't know, is it's similar to NaNoWriMo. This one is sponsored by Pro Writing Aid, which is a platform that helps you with, I think, Grammarly, but better. And they are pushing for it to become like this like this substitute of NaNoWriMo. And what I loved about it was the community and the tools that they allow. So I've been doing Preptober this month, and I've taken like maybe 8 or 9 webinars about outlining and story structure and creating characters and a lot of different things that you would love if you're interested in writing. So I started doing Preptober. I already have an outline because I'm starting tomorrow. Today is Halloween, October the 31st. And my goal is 50,000 words in 30 days. So wish me luck, I guess. Send coffee, send help. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the actual writing process, because what I have learned so far is that not everybody works the same. Not what works for someone doesn't necessarily work for someone else. So I've learned that there are people that are pantsers, and these people write, they don't have a plan. They discover the story as they go. They are called pantsers because they write by the seat of their pants. And then there are the plotters, which I am very much one of them. These are people that plan before they even start writing any single word. Like even before they put word to the page, they structure everything and they have everything planned. And that's me. I crave structure. My brain needs a structure to work properly. So I plan everything to within an inch of my life. I plan this story. Like my outline is 12,000 words, guy. That's the outline. That's the outline. Let that sink in. So, the story planning for me, or the outlining for me, usually starts with, and in this case it was like that. It started with a specific image that I had in my head. My female main character, she is pregnant. And she is taking a road trip with her husband. That's it. That was the idea. What do I do with that, right? So I knew that I needed to hit specific points because this is a romance novel. And this is not going to have a meet cute because they already met. But I'm going to refer to that moment in their history, right? So I know that I need to hit specific points or specific romance beats. And I am pledging myself to the three arc story structure, which is that on arc 1, you have the setup, the introduction, where you introduce your characters, where the normal world is introduced, the status quo. Then there's Act 2, when you have the confrontation, where your characters have a problem, they try to solve that problem, they fail, they should fail, it's important that they fail. And then things get worse. There's no more status quo, things are falling apart. Stakes get higher, and they need to change in order to be able to beat whatever problem they are having. And then there's the third act. And during that act, there's a final confrontation. There's a climax. There is the aftermath of what happened, the decisions that they took or they made, and the resolution of how they changed. And at the end of the day, I think that it's important that we remember that stories are about the characters, in my opinion. In my very humble opinion, because I know that a lot of people think differently. But in my opinion, characters should change in a story. If they are the same person at the beginning and the end of the story, if nothing happens to them internally, if they don't become either better or worse people, then nothing happened, right? So for me, it's important that the characters end up in a different place mentally and emotionally than the beginning of the story. So, the outline. The outline is like a roadmap. You have these key points in the story that you know that you want to hit, and then you just start filling the road. You start filling the points in the middle between those, let's call them milestones, just because that's the word that I thought about. So, you have this outline, right? And then you sit down and start writing your story. And guess what? It's not going to stay like that, because sometimes a character that you thought was going to be a secondary character turns out to be indispensable for the plot to move forward, or your main character will say something that you didn't think was going to go like that, and then you need to adapt and adjust, and the story is going to change because of that. So I think pantsers, God bless them, and if it works for them, great. But I love outlining and I love being a plotter because I have the security of a plan, but I also have the freedom to break that plan when the story demands it. So when I get stuck, for example, which will happen, I'm sure, I have my outline and I say like, okay, I'm here and I need to get here. What needs to happen so that I connect these 2 points? And then I go and do that. I figure it out. Or don't. And then I end up with a different story than I thought I was going to write. But then I outline that too. And it's not perfect. Nothing is. And I'm still learning, which I am enjoying very much. But it's the process that makes sense to my brain. There's something else that has been a part of this journey for me, and I wasn't sure I was going to talk about it in this video, but I obviously decided to do it. And it's that I am writing in English and it's not my first language. And before anyone comes and says, oh, but your English is so good. No, it's not. It's not. Thank you. You're adorable, but it's not. Don't make me delusional. But that's not the point. The point is that when you create something in a different language, specifically with creative writing, you constantly second guess yourself, right? You hesitate, you doubt yourself, and it's not even the grammar or the spelling, because that's the easy part. Like there are tools for that, right? Pro Writing 8 is a tool for that. But what happens is that you start wondering, is this phrase, does this sound natural? Does this convey the emotional tone that I want to convey? Is this too stiff? Is this word too formal for a contemporary romance? Does this sound weird? Does this sound right? And then you can't always tell, because even if you're fluent, there's always this tiny gap, or a big gap depending on the language, but there's always this gap between your native language and your second language that you can't always notice. So and the native speaker doesn't have to go through that. And yeah, it makes it take much longer, because you're going to do rereads. You're going to read each paragraph like 4 or 5 times, and you're going to constantly hesitate, and there's this voice in the back of your brain that is going to tell you, like, this is not good enough. You're writing in a different language. Why do you think that you're going to be able to write a book? You're not even writing in your own language. What makes you think that it's going to be any good in a second language? And that starts feeding into your imposter syndrome, right? And then you start doubting yourself. And why are you wasting time on this? 30 days, 50,000 words that are going to suck because this is not even your language. And then I started thinking about Gloria on Modern Family when she said, like, do you know how smart I am in Spanish? And I felt like that. And that image is like engraved in my brain because I felt that. And then something clicked, because I have read enough interviews and enough biographies by now to know that a lot of authors think this way. A lot of authors feel this imposter syndrome. Best-selling authors, award-winning authors, Nobel Prize authors, they have this doubt, but the difference is that they just do it, they write. So why would I be any less than them? So I decided to do it too. Do it scared. And the thing is, from what I see, because it's not my experience, the imposter syndrome is very much alive in me. But from what I have read, the voice doesn't go away, but you get better at ignoring it. And another thing that you have to remember is that you can edit a bad draft. You can. What you cannot do is edit a blank page. So I am going to have 50,000 crappy words to edit later. So that's it about me. I am doing this. I am doing scared. I am doing it badly, but I am doing it anyways. 30 days, 50,000 words. And if you're writing this month, if you're doing Novel November, or if you're following with your own projects or any other platforms that I don't know about, drop me a comment. Tell me what you're working on. What's your word count? Tell me if you need support, because at the end of the day, I think writing it's a very solitary endeavor, and if we have a community that can support us through it, then the merrier the better. And if you want to follow up with my chaos and my coffee drinking and my breakdowns and more coffee, because guys, I live in Colombia. I drink coffee like, I don't know, 6 times a day, maybe more. So if you want to be a part of that, follow me on my socials. They are in the description box. And remember, the story only exists if you write it. So go get it done. Bye.